Hello, and thank you for showing interest in HRM Planning Application 2025-00602. This presentation will provide additional information about Halifax Regional Municipality's planning process and the development that has been proposed for 344 and 376 Sackville Drive in Lower Sackville. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. HRM acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. We would also like to affirm that we are in the decade for people of African descent. African Nova Scotians are a distinct founding people in our community who have been a key part of Nova Scotian culture and history. We acknowledge that African teachings, strength, and perseverance continue to challenge and inspire our community. The purpose of this public consultation is information sharing. For HRM staff and the applicant to share information with you about the proposal, but more importantly, for you, the public, to comment and share your feedback with us. Please note that the feedback provided will inform the process and will form part of the public record. A summary of the response received will be included in the staff report to Community Council, and no decisions about the proposal are being made at this stage. My name is Megan Backus, and I'm a planner who works at HRM and has been assigned this application. My role is to manage the application through the planning process and its various stages, such as this one, the public engagement stage. I'm also the main point of contact for the applicant and general public regarding this application. Lastly, I draft reports, negotiate with the applicant, and make a recommendation to Community Council for their consideration on whether to approve or refuse this application. And now a bit about the development proposal. The applicant for this application is ZAP Consulting on behalf of the property owner, and they are seeking permission to enter into a development agreement to construct a mixed-use residential and commercial development at 344 and 376 Sackville Drive in Lower Sackville. A conceptual drawing of the proposed buildings have been included on the right, as seen from Sackville Drive. To get a closer look at the proposed building drawings, you can visit the application's webpage, which will be shared at the end of the presentation. Shown on the left of this slide is the general location of the subject properties circled in red. The properties are located near the intersection of Sackville Drive and Oakdale Drive, and back onto the northern banks of the Little Sackville River, shown with a blue line. On the right is the property's boundary, shown a little bit closer in red. The properties have street frontage on both Sackville Drive and Armoyan Drive and have a total lot area of approximately 6.4 hectares. As previously stated, the applicant is requesting to enter into a development agreement to allow for a mixed-use development on the lands. Major aspects of the proposal are as follows. 4 residential buildings ranging from 6 to 10 stories, which are shown on the slide in yellow and orange. 1 mixed-use residential and commercial building. The commercial portion, shown in red, would be 1 story, and the residential portions, shown in blue, would range from 6 to 12 stories. The development would have 413 residential units and 4,181 square meters of commercial space in total. The proposal also includes 2 driveway access points, one onto Sackville Drive and one on Armoyan Drive, a network of pedestrian walkways connecting buildings to the public streets and sidewalks, and a hydrotechnical study requirement for any development that's proposed near and within the Little Sackville River floodplain. When a planning application is made, it is often enabled by planning policies, meaning that it was envisioned that development would happen here, and rules and guidelines were written to help shape what that development would look like. Planning in HRM consists of 3 levels of documents. It starts with the regional plan, which is very high level, and it identifies where population growth should occur and where investment of services like transit, piped water, and sewer should occur. The second level of planning policies is the community plan. This focuses on specific geographic areas and gets more detailed on what type of development should happen where. Often, planning applications which require approval by council are enabled in this plan. For this application, the applicable community plan is the Dartmouth Municipal Planning Strategy. The third layer and most detailed planning document we have is the Land Use Bylaw. This outlines specific zoning and regulations that don't require special approval by council. If you meet the rules, you can go and get a permit without having to engage the public. The land use bylaw for this area is the Dartmouth Land Use Bylaw. I've mentioned previously that the applicant is applying for a development agreement, and you may be wondering what that is. A development agreement is a legal agreement between a property owner and the municipality to ensure that a site is developed in a particular manner. It's a mechanism to control development of a property or area and will specify the standards and conditions that the development must adhere to. This slide is a policy and bylaw overview for the properties. The subject properties are within the regional urban service boundary, which means that they are serviced by municipal sewer and water. The properties are split between 2 plan areas. The portion of the properties closer to the street are within the Sackville Drive plan area, and the portion closer to Little Sackville River is within the Sackville plan area. Because the lands are within 2 plan areas, they also have multiple zones and multiple community plan land designations. The properties are zoned Pine Hill Cobequid, or PC, in the Sackville Drive Land Use Bylaw, and zoned P3 in the Sackville Land Use Bylaw. The site is designated Pine Hill Cobequid in the Sackville Drive Municipal Planning Strategy, and as floodplain and urban residential in the Sackville Municipal Planning Strategy. The Sackville Drive Municipal Planning Strategy contains policy SS-4A, which is the primary policy that allows HRM planners to consider this development. Additional policies will be explained in more detail on the following slides. This application is being considered under new policy within the Regional Municipal Planning Strategy for suburban transit-oriented opportunity sites. These policies came into effect on January 31st, 2026. HRM is currently undertaking the Suburban Community Planning Program, which involves a comprehensive planning process to develop a vision and future land use structure for the suburban area. Given the present housing shortage, the urgent priority is to increase the supply of safe, sustainable, and affordable housing. It is reasonable to provide additional opportunity to allow those residential or mixed-use developments to proceed where they are aligned with the suburban community planning vision and 18 core concepts as outlined in the regional plan and are ready to develop. Proposed developments may be considered by development agreement where certain criteria and requirements can be met, including accelerated project start and completion timelines. This application is being considered under new policy within the Regional Municipal Planning Strategy for suburban transit-oriented opportunity sites. These policies came into effect on January 31st, 2026. HRM is currently undertaking the Suburban Community Planning Program, which involves a comprehensive planning process to develop a vision and future land use structure for the suburban area. Given the present housing shortage, the urgent priority is to increase the supply of safe, sustainable, and affordable housing. It is reasonable to provide additional opportunity to allow those residential or mixed-use developments to proceed where they are aligned with the suburban community planning vision and 18 core concepts as outlined in the regional plan, and are ready to develop. Proposed developments may be considered by development agreement where certain criteria and requirements can be met, including accelerated project start and completion timelines. Policy I-5 in the Sackville Drive Secondary Municipal Planning Strategy is a general implementation policy for any development agreement in the Sackville Drive plan area. Council must consider streetscaping guidelines relating to signage, architecture, landscaping, parking, and driveway entrances, the adequacy of services and infrastructure, such as roads, water and sewer, schools, recreation facilities, and more, controls placed to regulate land use, building size, traffic generation and access, open storage, and general maintenance of the development, as well as any other planning concern that comes up. Policy UR8 enables Council to consider approving development agreements for multi-unit buildings with more than 6 units, but they shall consider the proposed development's compatibility with adjacent land uses, landscaping, amenity space, and driveway accesses, the adequacy of municipal services such as water and wastewater, the street network, and community recreation facilities, environmental controls, the traffic impact, that the proposed development does not remove existing low-density dwellings, and general maintenance of the development. Policy IM13 in the Sackville Municipal Planning Strategy is a general implementation policy for any development agreement in the Sackville plan area. To summarize, Council shall consider the adequacy of existing municipal services, that controls are placed on the proposed development so as to reduce conflict with any adjacent or nearby land uses by reason of type of use, height, bulk, and lot coverage of any proposed building, traffic generation, access to and egress from the site, and parking locations, open storage and signage, and that the proposed site is suitable in terms of steepness of grades, soil and geological conditions, locations of watercourses, potable water supplies, marshes or bogs, and susceptibility to flooding. Lastly are the policies relating to development near and within the Little Sackville River floodplain. The rear portion of the subject properties abut Little Sackville River, so there are additional requirements for development in order to protect the health of the river and public safety. These policies came into effect in May 2025. The policies are almost exactly the same within the Sackville Municipal Planning Strategy and the Sackville Drive Secondary Municipal Planning Strategy. I've summarized them together here on this slide. These policies establish a floodway, which is a 1 in 20 year, and a floodway fringe, which is the 1 in 100 year, zone boundaries, add requirements for a hydrotechnical study to be completed for any development within the floodplain, and restrictions on using off-site fill to alter grades. The hydrotechnical study shall be prepared by a qualified person to confirm that the proposed development will not contribute to increased flooding on adjacent properties, increased upstream or downstream flooding, increased flood elevations, or result in a change to floodwater flow patterns. The policy outlines floodproofing requirements for any development within the floodplain, considers access and egress for the proposed development, and does not permit vulnerable or hazardous land uses within the floodplain, where flooding could pose a risk to the safety of the occupants if evacuation became necessary, or impact the health of the river, respectively. This slide shows where the proposed development is located in relation to the 2025 Little Sackville River floodplain boundaries. The floodplain boundaries have been added to planning documents as zones, which can be found in the Sackville and Sackville Drive land use bylaws. The FWO, or Floodway Overlay Zone, refers to the 1 in 20 flood event boundary, and the FFO, or Floodway Fringe Overlay Zone, refers to the 1 in 100 flood event boundary. For this application, no buildings are being proposed within the FWO or FFO overlay zones, but the applicant is proposing surface vehicle parking lots and private driveways, which policy permits. As previously mentioned, a hydrotechnical study is required to determine that the parking lots and driveways will be constructed in a way as to not contribute to increased flooding on adjacent properties, increased upstream or downstream flooding, increased flood elevations, or result in a change to floodwater flow patterns. The hydrotechnical study has not been submitted to date, but will be required before staff is able to make a recommendation on this proposal to Community Council. This slide outlines the different stages an application goes through in the development agreement and land use bylaw amendment planning process. After staff received the application, an initial review was completed before moving into public consultation, which is the stage we are in now. After the public consultation stage is complete, there will be further revisions and refinement to the proposal based on your comments and any outstanding feedback from previous internal review. Then staff will prepare a recommendation report to Community Council, who will make their decision on the proposal. After their decision is made, there is a 14-day appeal period for the application. Thank you very much for listening and showing interest in this planning application. We ask that you visit the application webpage highlighted in orange to view the additional materials submitted by the applicant, which go into further detail on their development proposal. We request that if you do wish to provide feedback or have any questions about the proposal, please contact me, Megan Backus, either by email or phone. My contact information can be found on the screen. Public engagement will be open until March 20th, 2026. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.